From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now! The NRA has blood on its hands, and the NRA is killing our children. Those were the messages of Code Pink activists as they interrupted the first public address by NRA Chief Wayne LaPierre since the Sandy Hook massacre. Today we look at how the NRA lobbies against a landmark international treaty to regulate the global arms trade.
On behalf of those 100 million American gun owners, I am here to announce NRA's strong opposition to anti-freedom policies that disregard American citizens' right to self-defense.
We'll speak with Andrew Feinstein, author of The Shadow World, Inside the Global Arms Trade. Then to Canada, where Indigenous and environmental groups have launched a growing movement called Idle No More.
The policy objective for First Nations in this country has never changed. From the time they developed it in the 1800s until now, on the books, the number one objective is to continue until there is not a single Indian left in Canada.
All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The last of the funerals have been held for the 26 victims of the Newtown massacre, the worst grade school shooting in U.S. history. On Friday, mourners held a moment of silence at the Newtown Memorial Site and across the country to mark the first week since the 20 children and 6 women were killed. On Christmas Day, visitors from neighboring areas flocked to Newtown's memorial site to honor the dead.
It was Christmas, and as a parent, I just couldn't move on celebrating unless we came and, respect these kids and the adults. It touched everybody's heart, so I just couldn't move forward without coming this morning early, and just saying a prayer.
We wanted to contribute and bring some teddy bears for the families, all these kids and the teachers who we're not here today because of some tragic moment, and so we just wanted to come down and show support for the families, obviously, that will never be the same again, whose holidays will never be.
The total number of victims was 27. The mother of the shooter, Madam Lanza, the mother of the shooter, was also killed before he went to the elementary school. The National Rifle Association has broken a lengthy silence following the Newtown shooting massacre with a call to deploy armed guards in every U.S. school. NRA Chief Wayne LaPierre unveiled the proposal at a highly anticipated news conference Friday, the one-week anniversary of Newtown.
The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. I call on Congress today to act immediately to appropriate whatever is necessary to put armed police officers in every single school in this nation, and to do it now to make sure that blanket safety is in place when our kids return to school in January.
NRA Chief Wayne LaPierre was interrupted by Code Pink protesters who held up banners reading, "The NRA is killing our kids and NRA blood on our hands." The NRA spoke out after going silent in the days following Newtown ceasing activity on its Facebook and Twitter pages. In the days leading up to its call for firearms in schools, the NRA had promised to unveil what it called meaningful contributions to the gun control debate. After sparking a torrent of criticism, LaPierre appeared on NBC's Meet the Press Sunday to defend his stance.
If it's crazy to call for putting police and armed security in our school to protect our children, then call me crazy. I'll tell you what, the American people, I think the American people think it's crazy not to do it. It's the one thing that would keep people safe, and the NRA is going to try to do that. In another deadly shooting incident in the Northeast, 2 firefighters were killed and another 2 were wounded upstate New York Monday night when a gunman ambushed them as they entered his burning home. Police say William Spengler set his house ablaze and then opened fire at the firefighters who rushed to the scene. Spengler later
later shot himself after a gunfight with police. Webster, New York Police Chief Gerald Pickering said Spengler had been heavily armed and left a chilling note bragging about killing people.
He had armed himself with 3 different weapons and an arsenal of ammunition. He had armed himself with a Smith & Wesson .38 caliber revolver, a Mossberg 12-gauge pump shotgun, and a Bushmaster .223 caliber rifle with a flash suppressor. I will read to you one of the sentences out of the 2-page or 2 or 3-page typewritten note that really clearly goes to his intent, while the note does not go to motive. Quote, "I still have to get ready to see how much of the neighborhood I can burn down and do what I like doing best, killing people."
Police now say they've found human remains in the home believed to belong to Spengler's sister, who lived there with him. Spengler had previously served 17 years in prison for the murder of his grandmother. President Obama has cut short his annual vacation to Hawaii to return to Washington for talks on the so-called fiscal cliff. Obama and congressional Republicans are seeking to work out a deal before a new round of spending cuts and tax hikes kick in next week. On Friday, Obama said he remains confident an agreement can be reached.
Nobody can get 100% of what they want. And this is not simply a contest between parties in terms of who looks good and who doesn't. There are real-world consequences to what we do here. Call me a hopeless optimist, but I actually still think we can get it done.
President Obama, meanwhile, has formally announced his nomination of Democratic Senator John Kerry to replace Hillary Clinton as Obama's second-term Secretary of State. Obama appeared with Kerry at the White House Friday.
I think it's fair to say that few individuals know as many presidents and prime ministers or grasp our foreign policies as firmly as John Kerry, and this makes him a perfect choice to guide American diplomacy in the years ahead. As we turn the page on a decade of war, he understands that we've got to harness all elements of American power and ensure that they're working together.
Egyptian President Mohamed Morsi signed into law a new constitution following its approval by voters in a contentious referendum. Morsi enacted the document after official results showed it received more than 63% support in 2 rounds of voting. Opponents had criticized the referendum process for its exclusion of secular voices from drafting the constitution and alleged cases of fraud when it went to a vote. Iran is accusing the U.S. and Israel of waging a new round of cyber warfare against its internal computer systems. The Iranian government says hackers have recently tried to disrupt computer networks in a southern province as well as in the National Culture Ministry. If confirmed, the hacking would be the latest major U.S.-Israeli cyber effort against Iran to come to light since the operation that disrupted Iranian nuclear facilities and unleashed the global computer virus Stuxnet. The Obama administration's cyber campaign in Iran is believed to be the first sustained effort by one country to destroy another's infrastructure through computer attacks. At least 4 people have been killed and several wounded in a suicide car bombing at a U.S. base in eastern Afghanistan. The victims were all believed to be Afghan nationals. The attack comes 2 days after an Afghan policewoman killed a U.S. official at police headquarters in the capital, Kabul. U.S. Army teams will be deploying to as many as 35 African countries early next year for training programs and other operations as part of an increased Pentagon role in Africa. The move would see small teams of U.S. troops dispatched to countries with groups allegedly linked to al-Qaeda, such as Libya, Sudan, Algeria, and Niger. The teams are from a U.S. brigade that has the capability to use drones for military operations in Africa if granted permission. The deployment could also potentially lay the groundwork for future U.S. military intervention in Africa. In related news, the United Nations Security Council has unanimously backed sending thousands of African troops into Mali to help combat Islamist militants who've claimed vast areas in Mali's north. Newly revealed documents show the FBI monitored the Occupy Wall Street movement from its inception last year. Internal government records show Occupy was treated as a potential terrorism threat when organizing first began in August of 2011. Counterterrorism agents were used to track Occupy activities, despite the internal acknowledgement that the movement opposed violent tactics. The monitoring expanded across the country as Occupy grew into a national movement, with FBI agents sharing information with businesses, local police agencies, and universities. One FBI memo warned Occupy could prove to be an outlet through which activists could exploit, quote, general government dissatisfaction. Although the documents provide no clear evidence of government infiltration, they do suggest the FBI used information from local law enforcement agencies gathered by someone observing Occupy activists on the ground. In a statement, the group that obtained the documents, the Partnership for a Civil Justice Fund, said they show that federal law enforcement agencies are, quote, treating protests against the corporate and banking structure of America as potential criminal and terrorist activity. A New York church used as a relief hub for the group Occupy Sandy has been targeted with an apparent act of arson. The Church of St. Luke and St. Matthew in Brooklyn suffered major damage after an alleged arsonist poured gasoline around the front entrance and set it on fire. The church had been serving as Occupy Sandy's headquarters and as a storage space for supplies and donations in the post-Sandy relief effort, including thousands of toys for children in devastated areas. And new details have emerged in the internal turmoil at the key Tea Party group FreedomWorks. The Washington Post reports the group's chair and former House Majority Leader Dick Armey attempted to seize power in a coup-like maneuver earlier this year before receiving a multi-million-dollar payout to leave. Armey entered the FreedomWorks offices in September with an armed aide who escorted two top employees off the premises while Armey suspended several others. Just days later, Armey left the group after an Illinois millionaire pledged $8 million over 20 years in exchange for his departure. FreedomWorks has been a pivotal force behind the victories of Tea Party candidates in recent years. The money for Dick Armey's exit came from Illinois billionaire Richard Stevenson, founder of the for-profit Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Stevenson was reportedly behind more than $12 million in donations funneled to the FreedomWorks Super PAC in the weeks before the 2012 election. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.
And I'm Nermeen Sheikh. Welcome to our listeners and viewers around the country and around the world.
Thanks so much for watching this report from Democracy Now!, your daily independent global news hour. We don't accept advertising or corporate funding, but rather rely on donations from viewers like you. Please make your contribution by visiting democracynow.org. We need your support today to keep bringing you this hard-hitting, in-depth reporting.